determined to break through the darkness. "Look at that," a nearby nurse whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "It's like he knows." Ha! Dr. Prescott's mind raced. Could this be a sign? Was there more to healing than medicine and machine? Valor seemed to breathe life into the room, awakening something deep within the hearts of the staff. The horse's presence challenged everything they had been taught about illness and despair. Dr. Prescott stepped closer, her heart pounding as she observed the bond forming before her eyes. "What are we doing?" she thought. "Can we really choose to give up on her?" Valor continued to nuzzle Alara, a beacon of warmth amidst the cold clinical reality. For the first time in days, a thought crossed Dr. Prescott's mind. Perhaps this moment was not just about life and death. Perhaps it was about connection, about the power of hope and love. "What if we let her fight?" she whispered, almost to herself. The question hung in the air, a challenge to the status quo. The sterile hospital walls felt less confining, the air a bit lighter. Dr. Prescott could see it in the eyes of her colleagues, the flicker of doubt, the spark of possibility. Valor stood proudly by Alara, a silent guardian in a world that often felt too clinical and cold. In that moment, chaos transformed into clarity, and Dr. Prescott knew they were at a crossroads. Would they embrace this unexpected turn of events, or would they retreat back into the shadows of despair? The choice was no longer just hers, it was a shared journey waiting to unfold. As Dr. Prescott stood in the hospital corridor, her mind raced back to a warm summer festival just a few months earlier. The sun shone brightly, and laughter filled the air. Families gathered to enjoy games and rides. But in the midst of the joy, something extraordinary happened. Valor, the chestnut horse, had been part of a petting zoo at the festival. He had always seemed calm and gentle, but that day he suddenly broke free from his handler. Dr. Prescott recalled the moment vividly. Valor had bolted, his powerful legs propelling him forward with a sense of urgency. He galloped through the festival grounds, his mane flowing like flames in the sunlight. It was as if an invisible force drove him, guiding him towards something important. The thrill of the moment mingled with a sense of confusion as onlookers gasped and pointed. In that memory, Dr. Prescott felt a wave of emotions wash over her. She remembered the patients she had treated, each one a unique story. Some had smiles that lit up the room, while others fought silently against the darkness of illness. She had learned that hope could be as powerful as medicine. Just a small connection could spark a will to fight, a desire to live. As she stood there, watching Valor nuzzle Alara's tiny hand, the memories of those patients flooded back. Each experience reminded her of the importance of compassion in healing. The power of connection was so real, so vital. Dr. Prescott knew that the presence of Valor was not just an unexpected event. It was a chance to explore a whole new way of caring. Around her, the hospital staff began to stir. They watched in awe as Valor continued to bond with Alara. The initial chaos faded, replaced by a sense of unity and purpose. Staff members exchanged glances, their expressions shifting from disbelief to wonder. They started to realize that this horse could bring something transformative to their work. Could animal therapy really help? A nurse wondered aloud, her voice filled with curiosity. Others nodded, their interest piqued. The idea of using animals to support healing was gaining traction, inspired by the powerful connection forming right before their eyes. But for Dr. Prescott, the moment was bittersweet. She felt torn between her professional responsibility and the spark of hope Valor ignited. Was it ethical to let Alara fight for her life when the odds seemed so dire? The question weighed heavily on her mind. The thought of making the wrong choice haunted her. Valor's presence challenged her to reconsider everything she had been taught about life and death. He was not just a horse, he was a symbol of resilience and strength. As he stood by Alara, it was clear that something special was happening. The bond they shared had the potential to change everything. Dr. Prescott took a deep breath, her heart racing. She knew they were at a crucial point. Would they embrace this new path? Or would they retreat to the familiar confines of medical procedure? The choice lay before her, shimmering with the promise of hope. Perhaps this was the moment when healing could truly begin, not just for Alara, but for everyone involved. The room was filled with a heavy silence as the doctors gathered around Alara's crib. The air was thick with tension as they debated the little girl's fate. Dr. Prescott could feel the weight of their decision pressing down on her. The usual clinical discussions about treatment options felt strangely different now. Vala's unexpected presence had created a shift, introducing a spark of hope that lingered in the air. Dr. Chen spoke first, his voice steady but uncertain. "We need to consider the data. The prognosis is not good." Then, Nurse Lila, who had been quietly observing, took a deep breath. "What if we give her a chance?" she suggested, her voice firm yet gentle. "This bond with Vala is something special. Maybe we should let Alara fight for her life." Leela's eyes sparkled with conviction, and her words cut through the tension like a ray of light. The other doctors turned to Leela. Their expressions a mix of surprise and intrigue. Dr. Prescott felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. Could this be a turning point? She glanced at Vala, who stood calmly beside Alara's crib, his warm gaze fixed on the tiny girl. It was as if he understood the gravity of the situation, offering a silent encouragement that resonated deeply. Dr. Prescott took a moment to reflect on Leela's plea. The connection between Vala and Alara was undeniable. The way the horse nuzzled the child's hand spoke volumes. In that simple act, there was a profound communication that transcended words. It was a reminder of the strength of life and the power of love. "Perhaps we have been too focused on the medical data," Dr. Prescott finally said, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "We need to consider the emotional aspect of healing. Vala's presence could be a key to unlocking Alara's will to fight." She could see the spark of understanding in the eyes of her colleagues. They were starting to grasp the importance of the bond forming between the horse and the child. Dr. Chen hesitated, his brow furrowed in thought. "But what if we're wrong? What if we give her hope, and it leads to more suffering?" His concern was valid, and the room fell silent as they all contemplated the implications of their decision. Yet, as Dr. Prescott watched Vala gently nuzzle Alara again, a sense of clarity washed over her. The connection was real, and it had the potential to change everything. "Life is unpredictable," she stated, her voice growing stronger. "We cannot measure hope or the will to live with charts and numbers. Maybe it's time we let Alara decide her fate." In that moment, the atmosphere shifted. The doctors exchanged glances, their expressions softening as they absorbed Dr. Prescott's words. They could feel the weight of their decision hanging in the balance, but now it felt like a choice filled with possibility. Finally, Dr. Prescott made her decision. "Let's give her time. Let's allow Alara to experience the bond with Vala and see where it takes us." A wave of relief washed over her as she spoke those words. This was not just a decision about a child's life, it was about embracing hope and the unexpected paths that healing could take. As the doctors nodded in agreement, the tension in the room began to dissipate. They understood that they were stepping into uncharted territory, but for the first time in a long time, there was a glimmer of hope illuminating their path. The atmosphere in St. Augustine Hospital changed dramatically after Vala became a regular visitor. His presence filled the halls with joy and laughter, creating a sense of community among the staff and families who gathered there. The once sterile environment began to feel more like a warm home. Nurses and doctors shared smiles and stories about the horse that had brought new hope to Alara and the entire hospital. Alara's progress was remarkable. As the days passed, she began to respond to Vala's gentle nature. When he was in the room, Alara's tiny fingers reached out to touch him, and a smile would spread across her face. The warmth of the horse seemed to awaken something deep within her. Dr. Prescott watched in awe as Alara's color improved, and she showed signs of life that the doctors had feared were lost. The bond between Vala and Alara grew stronger each day. The staff could see how the horse brought not just joy, but healing to the little girl. It was as if Vala had a special ability to connect with her spirit. Every time Vala nuzzled Alara's hand, a wave of calm spread through the room. It was a sight that filled everyone with hope. As the staff rallied around Alara's case, they found themselves forming deeper connections with one another. Nurses and doctors began to share their own stories of hope and healing. They supported one another, inspired by the bond they witnessed between the horse and the child. This shared experience created a new sense of teamwork and collaboration that had been missing before. Celebrations of small victories became a regular part of daily life at the hospital. Every time Alara showed progress, whether it was a smile or a slight movement, the staff would gather to acknowledge it. They would cheer and clap, their faces lighting up with joy. These moments were reminders that even in a place that often dealt with loss, there was still room for hope and happiness. Dr. Prescott felt a shift within herself as well. The joy surrounding Alara and Vala reminded her of why she had chosen to be a doctor. It was about more than just treating illness. It was about caring for the whole person and finding joy in the journey. She realized that sometimes, healing comes in unexpected ways. Valor became a symbol of hope, not just for Alara, but for everyone in the hospital. His gentle spirit and playful demeanor brought light to dark days. Families who visited felt a sense of warmth as they witnessed the special bond forming. They found comfort in seeing Alara's progress and began to believe that miracles could happen. As the days turned into weeks, the staff continued to embrace this new approach to care. They learned that every small step forward was worth celebrating. Alara's journey inspired them to believe in the power of connection and the magic of companionship. Even in the most challenging times, they discovered that love, hope, and a little bit of faith could lead to unexpected healing. In the heart of St. Augustine Hospital, Valor had transformed not just a little girl's life, but the entire atmosphere of the place. He had opened doors to new possibilities, giving everyone a chance to believe in the extraordinary power of hope. Alara took her first steps one sunny afternoon in St. Augustine Hospital, and the moment felt like magic. The room filled with family, nurses, and doctors who had become part of her journey. Dr. Prescott stood by, her heart racing with excitement. Alara's small feet moved slowly but surely, each step a symbol of not just her physical recovery, but also the emotional healing that filled the air. As Alara wobbled and then steadied herself, the room erupted into cheers. The nurses hugged each other, and even the doctors, who usually wore serious faces, smiled brightly. Valor stood nearby, his warm brown eyes watching intently. It was as if he understood the importance of this moment. Alara reached out her tiny hand toward him, and Valor took a small step closer, creating a bridge between their worlds. With Alara's progress, the hospital staff began to embrace the idea of integrating animal therapy into their care model. Inspired by the bond between Valor and Alara, they recognized that animals could bring joy and healing in ways traditional medicine sometimes could not. The idea sparked conversations among the staff about how they could create a program that allowed more patients to benefit from the love and warmth animals could provide. Families began to notice the change too. They formed a growing community around Alara's story, sharing their experiences of hope and resilience. They gathered in the hospital lounge, exchanging stories of their loved ones and how they found strength in difficult times. The spirit of togetherness grew, nurtured by the connection that Valor had sparked. Dr. Prescott often reflected on her journey as a doctor during these moments. She thought about how her approach to medicine had evolved since Alara's arrival. The little girl and Valor had taught her that embracing hope could lead to profound changes, not just for patients but also for caregivers. She realized that her role was not only to heal the body, but also to nurture the heart and spirit. As Alara continued to improve, the hospital staff celebrated her milestones. From the first smile to the first steps, each accomplishment was a reminder of the power of hope. The celebrations brought everyone together, creating a new sense of family within the hospital walls. They decorated the nurses' station with bright drawings made by the children, and laughter filled the air, replacing the somber tone that once dominated the space. Dr. Prescott watched as parents found comfort in one another, forming bonds over shared experiences. They exchanged phone numbers and promised to keep in touch, united by the journey they all shared. Valor had become more than just a horse. He was a beacon of hope in a place where it was often hard to find. With each passing day, the story of Alara and Valor rippled through St. Augustine Hospital. It inspired the staff to think differently about their work and the ways they could support healing. The small, daily victories became a source of motivation, reminding everyone that even in the face of hardship, there was always room for joy. Valor had transformed the atmosphere of the hospital, creating a place where hope thrived. The connection between him and Alara showed everyone that love and companionship could lead to unexpected healing. As they all moved forward, the promise of new beginnings filled the air, and the legacy of their journey began to unfold. As Valor continued to visit St. Augustine Hospital, his presence began to uplift the spirits of the staff. Nurses and doctors found themselves smiling more often, sharing laughter, and feeling a renewed sense of purpose in their work. The atmosphere shifted from one of tension to one filled with hope and warmth. Each day, as Valor trotted through the halls, he seemed to bring a little light into the lives of everyone he encountered. Inspired by the bond between Valor and Alara, Dr. Prescott and her team decided to establish a therapy program featuring animals. They wanted to create a space where other patients could experience the same joy and comfort that Alara had found. The idea excited the staff, and soon they began to brainstorm how to bring this program to life. They discussed various animals that could participate, considering their temperaments and how they could interact with patients. The day of the heartwarming reunion event arrived, and the hospital buzzed with anticipation. Families and staff gathered to celebrate Alara's progress. Colorful balloons floated in the air, and laughter filled the hallways. Everyone came together to share stories of hope, resilience, and the journey they had taken with Alara and Vala. The room was decorated with drawings made by the children, showcasing their creativity and joy. Dr. Prescott stood at the front of the gathering, her heart swelling with pride as she looked at the faces of the families and staff. She shared Alara's story, highlighting how the little girl had inspired everyone to embrace hope. As she spoke, she could see how much Vala had changed their lives. The connection they all felt was tangible. And it reminded them of the power of community in healing. Alara, now more lively than ever, was at the center of attention. She played with Vala, laughing and enjoying the moment. Her parents watched with tears of joy, grateful for the support they had received from the staff and the new friendships they had formed. The event was not only a celebration of Alara's achievements, but also a testament to the bonds that had been forged in the hospital. As the day came to a close, Dr. Prescott reflected on the journey they had taken. She realized that sometimes the most significant changes come from the most unexpected places. Vala, a horse who had wandered into their lives, had left a lasting legacy of hope. The therapy program inspired by Alara's story would allow many more patients to experience the healing power of animal companionship. The event ended with a sense of unity, and the staff felt invigorated to continue their work. They had witnessed not only the physical recovery of a child, but also the emotional healing that occurred within the community. As families exchanged contact information and made plans to stay connected, it became clear that the bonds formed here would last long after they left the hospital. Dr. Prescott walked through the halls, her heart light. She knew that the journey was far from over, but with Vala by their side, they were prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The spirit of hope, love, and connection filled the hospital, promising a bright future for all who passed through its doors. As time went on, the bond between Alara and Vala grew stronger. Every time Vala visited the hospital, he brought a smile to Alara's face. She would reach out to him, her little fingers brushing against his soft coat. Vala, in return, nuzzled her gently, and it was clear that they shared a special connection. This bond not only inspired Alara, but also touched the hearts of everyone around them. The impact of Alara's recovery spread throughout St. Augustine Hospital. Staff members started to believe even more in the power of hope and healing. Inspired by the success of animal therapy, they began to explore new ways to help other patients. Doctors and nurses talked about different animals that could join the therapy program, imagining how each could bring joy and comfort to those in need. The idea excited everyone, and they felt a renewed sense of purpose in their work. Dr. Prescott often reflected on the lessons learned from Alara and Vala. She understood that hope could take many forms, and that connection with others, even animals, could lead to miraculous changes. Each day, as she walked through the hospital, she saw the smiles on the faces of patients and families. She noticed how laughter filled the halls, replacing the silence that once hung heavy in the air. Alara's journey had become a source of inspiration for all. As news of Alara and Vala spread, families began to visit the hospital to learn more about the therapy program. They wanted to see the horse that had changed a little girl's life. The hospital became a place where stories of resilience and hope were shared. Each new family brought their own challenges and dreams, and together they formed a community united by love and support. The legacy of Vala and Alara grew with each passing day. Their story became a beacon of hope for future patients and caregivers. It showed everyone that healing could happen in unexpected ways. Vala was more than just a horse. He became a symbol of strength and resilience for those in need. As Dr. Prescott watched Alara interact with Vala during therapy sessions, she felt grateful. She saw how the little girl had inspired not only the staff, but also other patients. Alara's laughter echoed through the halls, and it was a sound that brought joy to everyone. Each moment spent with Vala was a reminder of the power of companionship. The hospital staff continued to work hard to develop the therapy program. They knew that the bond between animals and humans could lead to healing in ways they had not imagined. They planned workshops and training sessions, eager to learn more about how to create a welcoming environment for both patients and animals. In the end, the story of Alara and Vala was not just about recovery. It was about community, connection, and the importance of hope. It taught everyone that even in the darkest times, there is light to be found. The hospital became a place where miracles could unfold, and as long as there was love, hope, and the spirit of Vala, there would always be a chance for healing. Share this story if you believe that love can conquer even the toughest challenges. Leave a comment about how an unexpected visit has changed your life, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories like this one.